honored to share some reflections and thoughts on what I just heard and the good preparation by my team working on the race to zero and the race to resilience. I'm happy that in the two races we have cities adequately represented and growing in numbers. Just today, I was just trying to share the new signatories to the cities. We've just been informed that we have more, including 3 states and 17 cities from India and Bangladesh that just had joined the race to resilience. Together, this represents a population of 300 million people, given that these are coming from 2 big countries. And on COP26, there have been a great deal of recognition of the importance of resilience, and we even saw that it's not just on resilience and mitigation. On the very controversial until now topic of the loss and damage, I was very happy to see that leaders of cities of Glasgow and Brussels are contributing to the first fund for dealing with loss and damage. This encourages others to follow suit. I've seen more contributions. They are in millions, not in billions. I've seen the contributions from Austria and New Zealand dealing with the following, really. If we are really in a war against climate change, bad actions, slow reactions got us compromising the first line of defense, which is mitigation. The second line of defense on resilience, given that it's not really supported with adequate technical assistance, and we just heard about the staggering numbers, very low contribution, less than 10% of finance going to resilience. And I'm not very much optimistic until we see something to push the multilateral development system to do more in this area, because resilience is of a share of around 20% of the development financing institutions, that they should really be taking more risk and support the work, especially that with what we see today, that the private sector had found its soul and opportunities in mitigation, including major projects in solar, in wind, in green hydrogen, decarbonization, less so in the adaptation. The Global Center for Adaptation based in the Netherlands have updated us regionally and globally that only 2% of the finance is coming from the private sector when it comes to resilience or adaptation finance globally, 3% in Africa. So I said, well, 3% out of 11.4 billion could be talking about some serious number there that could be scaled up. But as my colleagues would remind me, that when we go into the disaggregated data, this is more money coming from philanthropies and institution investors. So it's not our typical narrow definition of private sector. You need to stretch and extend the definition. However, there are ways to do that, and I'll be very brief. One could perhaps be through building up projects of a pipeline of projects like the one that we have been doing during the last 6 months in answering the question by Mark Carney and others, where are the pipeline of projects, focusing on mitigation indeed. So I have 62% of the projects are in mitigation, but we started to have decent numbers coming from cross-cutting projects, and 15% came from pure adaptation. This tells you something as well about the feasibility of projects coming in the adaptation front that needs more work in the incentive structure and the design of the project. The design of the project could benefit from a nexus approach when you can perhaps operationalize the Sharm el-Sheikh agenda for adaptation that has this kind of nexus approach: energy, water management with food production and agriculture system, investing in resilience in infrastructure with opportunity for the private sector, talking about infrastructure and cities and settlement. That could be the way forward. The other way to do it, and this is just a proposal because I know that you are not just in cities, but in cities and beyond, I'd like to appeal through you to the multilateral development banks that the kind of financing that we are having now is unfair, takes lots of time, so it's inefficient, and it's very costly, and we need really to have some more funding going there. I'm not very optimistic with the kind of discussion we're having now about the 100 billion. We'll be just growing in circles. And even if the 100 billion is fulfilled, updates in the reports telling us that this is no more than the most conservative figure for the gap. It's only 10%. So what to do about that? We can really do the following. 10 years grace, add to it 20 years of paying back period. So in all will be 30 years maturity. Get that with flat rate of 1% and get the low income and middle income countries, low middle income countries included in this. Is it a far-fetched kind of an idea? No. The IDA arrangements, International Development Association, have something like that, but only for low-income countries. So we need to extend that to low-middle-income countries. The rates are higher, so are trying to subsidize the rates to be more affordable, especially for the tough times facing the African countries today, because the majority of the African countries are not low-income countries anymore. They are low-income, but more of the low-middle-income countries, and that could benefit developing economies and emerging markets. 1% should cover as well. There should be no gimmicks around the 1%. 1% should cover the administrative cost with some technical capacity development to the point raised there, because even when you have the projects, you need really capacity development to do the proper matchmaking. I think we need to have our brains and power behind some sort of applicable and feasible areas of work. We don't need to create new institutions that will take forever to mature and to start giving us the money that we have. We need to build on what we have and keep pushing for the new financial climate to support the work on sustainability at large, including development finance. But these are the terms that could really be of benefit to the developing economies and dealing with the challenge in finding funding for resilience. Otherwise, we'll be talking about the same topic, but we'll have more crises to deal with and we'll be in more need for loss and damage compensation, which is not really an ideal scenario. Thank you so much.